And welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Naji. Today we have quite a load for you of information around our business. Yesterday evening, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo met with a few of us around a media roundtable on the economic sustainability plan. He answered some of our questions, or he answered all our questions regarding the economic sustainability plan implementation. Let's quickly bring you the excerpts from the media roundtable that was held yesterday evening at the presidential villa with Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo. He answered our questions on the economic sustainability plans, implementation, and some other. But just take a listen, and we'll be right back.
What's happened since the launch of the economic sustainability plan? I think quite a lot has happened, beginning with the mass programs that we have. As you know, the sole focus of the economic sustainability plan is to generate employment using local materials and resources, and also to in some cases, in the case of agriculture, food security; in the case of housing, more shelter. So we started with mass agriculture. We identified 5 million farmers, and we have geo-tagged them to their land. Of the 5 million farmers, we have about 1.5 million that have now been approved for direct support. Now, so what we're getting is that we're able to bring in more people into farming, and it's a lot more scientific because these are farms that are actually identified, and the farmers are actually identified. And we're working with big agricultural concerns that are called, we call them platform partners, such as Babangana, for instance, or Olam, some of the bigger concerns. Now, what they do is that they act as anchors, if you like, to a large number of the small farmers, and it is through them that the facilities are given. So the CBN has a facility for us as part of the economic sustainability plan. So the facilities are channeled through the platform farmers, and they provide inputs to the farmers. So they will typically provide fertilizer, improved seedlings, and all that. And then offtake when the farmers, when there's a harvest. So they offtake the harvest as well. Whatever is not off-taken by the platform partners is then bought by government. The point being that we want to ensure that every farmer in this program gets everything that he produces bought. So there's a guarantee of payment. There's a guarantee that whatever you produce will be paid for, which is one way of ensuring that the farmers come back, that they continue farming. Also one way of ensuring that they are paid, that they earn something, and also a way of ensuring, to a reasonable extent, food security. So so as far as that is concerned, we're making considerable progress. There have been one or two setbacks, especially with places that have been flooded. But aside from that, things are moving on quite well. With respect to housing, we also have a mass housing scheme. Now, the mass housing scheme is an interesting one because for the first time, we're actually doing low-cost housing. Low cost, not affordable housing, which obviously, that means all sorts of things. So we're saying that the average, a person who earns the minimum wage ought to be able to buy a low-cost house. So the low-cost house is 2 million. That's the highest, that's the most expensive of the low-cost houses, and that's 2 million naira. So the way we worked it out is that if you're able to pay 9,000 naira a month, you should be able to buy into one of the low-cost houses. We have a target of 300,000 in the first phase. The facility for this, again, is a facility provided by the CBN. It is a loan given to the federal government, right? And it's given to the federal government for the Family Homes Fund. The Family Homes Fund is the implementing vehicle. And the way we've worked this out and why we're able to bring costs that low is because the states where this will be located must give us land free. So the land is free, so the land comes in free, and which obviously is a cost saving for us. So these houses have been, we've started with 11 states so far. And we started in quite a few of these states. We started in Borno, for instance. I know that there's been commissions in Nasarawa as well. So there's activity already. The thing with the mass housing also is that we also want a situation where young people who are in building are engaged. Making some progress with that, and I'm sure you might have heard of the MSME funds and several of what is going on. We have the survival fund for MSMEs. This has been implemented by the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. So there are several aspects of that. One is the off-take guarantee scheme. And what we're doing there is that we're asking government will say to manufacturers of mass, we'll give you a contract to buy to make 50,000 mass, and we'll pay. So government simply guarantees offtake of several of these types of things, and most of them are related to the current COVID crisis and all of that. So the whole idea is to give jobs, to those who can manufacture these sorts of things. Then we have the survival fund, which is also part of the survival fund is the payroll support. The payroll support is for for companies that employ as many as 10 individuals. And over a 3-month period, we will pay staff, up to 50,000 per month. So we'll pay their staff for a 3-month period, up to 50,000, but we won't pay more than 50,000 per staff. And this money is paid directly to the staff. So aside, from that, we also have a scheme for artisans, traders, and all of that. 42,000 per state will be receiving direct grants from the federal government, of at least 30,000 naira, 42,000 per state. So there'll be transport workers, artisans, and all of that. Part of the strategy really is to ensure that people have money in their hands, which we think is important if you are going to reflate consumer spending, get people back to spending money, and being able to own something and invest if they like in some small thing that they're doing. Why a deficit isn't cause for panic, and my view is that 5 trillion in Nigeria is. Let me just give you a sense for how this is, because if you remember, in 2009, when the banks ran into trouble, in 2009, 2010, 5 banks ran into trouble. At that point in time, the central bank, eventually through AMCON, actually to save those banks, gave 5 trillion, almost 5.7 trillion to save those banks in 2009. 10 years after, why is 5 trillion cause for panic? Do you understand the point I'm making? It's not. This country has the capacity, and the major question that we should ask ourselves is, what is this deficit going to be used for? What is it going to be used for? That's a major question. But 5 trillion, it shouldn't be any cause for panic. In 2009, they say, if you convert what 5 trillion was in 2009 in dollar terms, compared to now, compared to today. So it was far more money then, far more money then than now. So even our budget in relative terms, even our budget is a very small budget in relative terms. If you convert it to dollars, It's a very small budget. It's not the sort of budget that, I mean, for a country this size, for our potential, for all of that, we should be doing far more. We're doing far more. But I'm confident that, I'm very confident that with what we're doing, and especially with manufacturing, once we're able to open up this space enough, and we hope that the handshake between fiscal and monetary policy will be quick and effective, and when that happens, we'll see a change in terms of, our capacity for manufacturing, our capacity for production. Because I think the major challenge we have is a productivity challenge. Are we able to produce? Because if you are producing, you are certainly going to be able to do far more. I mean, if we are producing even face masks, you can export face masks. You provide jobs, you provide opportunities, and all of that. So one of the things that we've been thinking about all the time is, so what do we do to encourage that? So it may well be that we're taking off duties or levies of any kind on machinery, right? So that if you are bringing in machinery, especially machinery for production or for anything like that, you may not be required to pay the kinds of duties we may be looking at reducing duties. Because anybody who brings in machinery will produce with it. So you're not going to go and sit down and do nothing with it. So I think that the potential here is tremendous. And frankly, I wouldn't want us to lose any sleep. Now, if you remember, we actually, in the last administration, started the JEEP, which is the trader money, farmer money, and all of that, which is the largest, the largest microcredit scheme of its kind, and certainly in Africa. And what we tried to do there was to lend money, 10,000 naira, to informal traders. We actually did an enumeration of the traders. We did an enumeration of 4 million traders. But we planned to pay in the first phase 2 million. So we covered about 2.1 million. So we started with an enumeration, which is by itself a job creating opportunity, and we had lots of young enumerators, including our Empower people, who did the enumeration. That enumeration also showed us not just where the informal traders are, because we now have all their data, and that's been managed in our control center here at the NDPHC. So we have a whole floor. I'm sure you might have heard of the control center. Now that is run by the Bank of Industry. The entire process is run by the Bank of Industry. So with that, we're able to locate the informal traders in several parts of the country, a minimum of 30,000 per state, but in several states, such as Lagos, went almost as high as 200,000, Kano almost well over 200,000 in the larger states. And we're able to give them the 10,000 naira, and when they paid back, we gave 15, when you pay back, you get 20. So it's a progressive sort of engagement with them. The reality is that if you're able to give money to these sorts of traders, to informal traders, it really does generate not just jobs for them and opportunities, but all the way back up the chain, because many of them are distributors of. Some are bread sellers, some of them are distributors of sachets of Bonvita or some other products and all of that. And we found that we are able to resource the entire value chain. So it's not just the petty trader who benefits, but everybody, all of that value chain. Truth is that this is a big country, it's a huge country. And you're dealing with large numbers of people. So in order to achieve scale, it is a considerable challenge in terms of available resources and all that. So we really have to keep thinking out of the box about how to get money to the least accessible in our society, and several of them the informal traders that you spoke about. But we think we found the strategy. We think we found a good way. Really, the rest of it is really will be determined by how much resources we're able to put behind this. So that's
President Professor Yemi Osinbajo speaking on the Economic Sustainability Plan.